Some people seem to thrive on disrespect. They will deliberately test your patience, push your emotional buttons, and then expect you to lose control. This, unfortunately, is their game. But let's be clear about something crucial. Losing your temper is exactly what they want. It signifies their victory. The true power in these situations lies in maintaining your composure, in delivering a response that is not only calm, but also so sharp and unexpected that it leaves them utterly speechless. Forget yelling or emotional outbursts. We're talking about pure, calculated words that will make them deeply regret ever trying to cross you. In this video, I'm going to equip you with powerful comebacks that can shut down rudeness instantly. Commit these to memory, and you'll find yourself never feeling disrespected again. Comeback 1. You are entitled to your opinion, and one is entitled to disregard it. At the heart of Stoicism lies the profound understanding of what falls within our sphere of control and what remains external. Our thoughts, judgments, and actions are ours to shape, while the opinions and behaviors of others exist firmly in the external realm. The revised statement, "You are entitled to your opinion, and one is entitled to disregard it," is not merely a dismissive retort, but a concise articulation of this fundamental Stoic dichotomy. It acknowledges the inherent freedom of thought possessed by every individual. The first part of the statement grants that undeniable reality. However, the crucial second part firmly establishes the speaker's own sovereignty over their attention, their mental space, and their reactions. Consider the psychological underpinnings of rudeness. Often, it is a veiled attempt to assert dominance, to provoke an emotional response, or to impose one's own worldview upon another. The rude individual seeks to gain a sense of power by eliciting a reaction, by making their target feel defensive, angry, or insecure. This revised comeback effectively neutralizes this attempt. It refuses to grant the rude opinion any inherent power over the speaker's inner state. It implicitly states, "Your opinion exists, but its relevance to me, its impact on my peace, is determined solely by my own volition." In practical application, this statement can be deployed in a multitude of scenarios. Imagine a work environment where a colleague consistently offers unsolicited and critical opinions on your work style. Instead of engaging in a potentially draining argument defending your methods, this comeback serves as a polite yet firm boundary. It acknowledges their right to have their thoughts, but firmly establishes that those thoughts will not necessarily be internalized or acted upon. Similarly, in social settings, one might encounter individuals who feel compelled to share judgmental opinions on personal choices, such as career paths, relationships, or lifestyle. A simple, "You are entitled to your opinion, and one is entitled to disregard it," delivered calmly and without defensiveness, can effectively shut down the unwanted commentary without escalating into conflict. It conveys a sense of self-assuredness and an unwavering commitment to one's own values. Furthermore, consider the context of online interactions, where anonymity can embolden individuals to express harsh and often ill-informed opinions. Engaging in lengthy debates can be a futile exercise, often leading to increased frustration and no resolution. In such instances, this comeback can be used as a digital equivalent of a shrug, signaling a disinclination to engage with negativity that lacks substance. The Stoic rationale behind this response is multifaceted. Firstly, it aligns with the principle of focusing on what we can control. We cannot control the opinions of others, but we can control how we choose to receive and process them. Secondly, it promotes inner peace by refusing to be swayed by external judgments, particularly those delivered rudely or without genuine care. Thirdly, it conserves mental energy. Engaging in arguments or becoming emotionally invested in every critical remark can be mentally exhausting. This comeback offers a way to sidestep such drains and maintain focus on one's own goals and values. Moreover, this statement subtly challenges the assumption that all opinions are equally valuable or deserving of equal consideration. While democratic ideals may champion the right to express oneself, Stoicism emphasizes the importance of wisdom and reasoned judgment. A rudely expressed or poorly thought-out opinion holds less inherent value than one delivered with respect and based on sound reasoning. By stating the right to disregard, the speaker implicitly asserts their own capacity for discernment. It is important to deliver this comeback with a calm and neutral tone. Any hint of sarcasm or defensiveness would undermine its Stoic foundation and potentially escalate the situation. The goal is not to be aggressive, but to be assertive in establishing one's boundaries and maintaining inner equilibrium. The power of this statement lies in its quiet confidence and its unwavering adherence to the core Stoic principle of focusing on one's own internal state rather than being dictated by the external world. The entitlement to disregard is not an act of arrogance, but an act of self-preservation and a recognition of one's own agency in navigating social interactions. It is a testament to the Stoic understanding that true freedom lies not in controlling others' opinions, but in being free from their undue influence. Come back to, if one were to be compensated for every intelligent statement made by some, the treasury would remain quite empty. Stoicism places a high value on wisdom, reason, and thoughtful discourse. When confronted with rudeness that is thinly veiled as intelligence, or criticism that lacks genuine insight and is instead delivered with a condescending air, a measured yet pointed response can effectively expose the vacuity of the other's words. The revised statement, if one were to be compensated for every intelligent statement made by some, the treasury would remain quite empty, serves as precisely such a tool. It cleverly avoids a direct personal attack, while clearly indicating a profound lack of intellectual substance in what has been uttered. The psychology of the rude pseudo-intellectual often involves an attempt to elevate their own perceived status by diminishing others through sarcasm, belittling remarks, and pronouncements that sound sophisticated but lack genuine depth. They seek to create an imbalance of perceived intelligence, positioning themselves as superior. This comeback subtly mirrors their tactic by suggesting that their contribution to intelligent discourse is negligible, if not entirely absent. Consider a scenario in a team meeting where a colleague frequently interjects with sarcastic comments that are framed as insightful critiques but are, in reality, simply dismissive and unhelpful. Instead of directly confronting their negativity or attempting to dissect their arguments, this comeback can be delivered with a calm and slightly bemused tone. It subtly suggests that their contributions are so lacking in genuine intelligence that they wouldn't even warrant a token reward. Similarly, in academic or intellectual discussions, one might encounter individuals who use complex jargon or make sweeping statements without providing any solid evidence or logical reasoning. This comeback can serve as a sophisticated way of pointing out the emptiness of their rhetoric without engaging in a protracted and potentially pedantic debate. It places the burden of proof back on them, implicitly challenging them to substantiate their claims with genuine intelligence. Furthermore, imagine a social gathering where someone is attempting to impress others with cynical or dismissive remarks about various topics, mistaking negativity for intellectual depth. This comeback can be used to gently deflate their ego and highlight the lack of genuine insight behind their pronouncements. It suggests that true intelligence lies not in facile cynicism, but in thoughtful understanding and constructive engagement. The Stoic principle at play here is the discernment between genuine wisdom and mere rhetorical flourish. Stoics valued clear thinking and reasoned argument. Rudeness disguised as intelligence often lacks both. This comeback acts as a subtle filter, highlighting the absence of the very quality the rude individual is trying to project. It avoids emotional reactivity and instead employs a touch of dry wit to make its point. It is crucial that the delivery of this statement is key. A condescending or aggressive tone would be counterproductive. The ideal delivery is one of detached observation, perhaps with a slight hint of amusement at the irony of the situation. The goal is not to humiliate the other person, but to subtly expose the lack of substance in their words and discourage further attempts at intellectual posturing. This comeback also serves to protect the speaker's own mental space. Engaging with empty rhetoric can be intellectually draining and emotionally frustrating. By delivering this concise yet effective response, the speaker can disengage from the unproductive interaction without feeling the need to dissect every flawed statement. They maintain their focus on reason and genuine understanding, refusing to be drawn into a battle of superficial wit. The treasury, in the metaphor, represents the collective pool of intelligent discourse. The statement implies that the contributions of the rude individual are so lacking in this valuable currency that the metaphorical treasury would remain untouched by their input. It is a clever way of conveying intellectual dismissal without resorting to crude insults. It appeals to reason and the understanding that true intelligence is a valuable and often scarce commodity, not to be confused with mere negativity or condescension. Comeback 3. Engaging with those who seek to thrive on disrespect is not a practice conducive to inner peace. A cornerstone of Stoic philosophy is the relentless pursuit of inner tranquility, that state of equanimity and freedom from emotional disturbance. Stoics understood that our emotional well-being is deeply intertwined with our interactions with the external world, particularly with other people. When confronted by individuals who demonstrably derive satisfaction from being disrespectful, who seem to feed on the negative reactions of others, a Stoic approach necessitates recognizing the detrimental impact such engagement can have on one's inner peace. The revised statement, engaging with those who seek to thrive on disrespect is not a practice conducive to inner peace, is not an admission of defeat, but a clear and conscious declaration of one's commitment to self-preservation and mental well-being. Rude individuals who thrive on disrespect often operate by intentionally provoking others. Their goal is to elicit a reaction, anger, frustration, defensiveness, which they then interpret as a validation of their own, often insecure sense of power. Engaging with such individuals on their terms inevitably leads to emotional turmoil, pulling one away from the desired state of Stoic calm. This comeback serves as a firm boundary, stating that the speaker will not participate in this dynamic. Consider a family gathering where a particular relative habitually makes cutting remarks and seems to enjoy stirring up conflict. Engaging in arguments with this individual has likely proven to be a fruitless and emotionally draining exercise in the past. The revised comeback offers a way to gracefully disengage. It doesn't accuse the relative directly, but states a personal principle. Interactions that undermine inner peace will be avoided. This shifts the focus from the other person's behavior to the speaker's own well-being. Similarly, in online forums or social media, there are individuals who seem to exist solely to spread negativity and engage in disrespectful behavior. Attempting to reason with such individuals often proves to be an exercise in futility, as they are often more interested in provoking reactions than in genuine dialogue. This comeback can be used as a justification for ceasing engagement, not out of anger or frustration, but out of a deliberate choice to protect one's mental space from unnecessary negativity. The Stoic rationale behind this response is deeply rooted in the understanding of our control. We cannot control the behavior of others, but we can control our own reactions and our choices regarding with whom we choose to engage. As Epictetus famously said, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Trying to change the behavior of someone who thrives on disrespect is often beyond our power and a significant source of worry and frustration. This comeback is not about weakness or avoidance of difficult conversations. Rather, it is about the wise allocation of one's energy and emotional resources. Stoics valued reasoned discourse and constructive engagement, but they also recognized when an interaction was fundamentally unproductive and potentially harmful to one's inner state. Disengaging from disrespect is not a retreat, but a strategic move to protect one's mental fortress. Furthermore, this statement implicitly encourages self-awareness. It requires the speaker to recognize when an interaction is indeed undermining their inner peace and to have the courage to disengage. It is a proactive approach to managing one's emotional environment rather than passively allowing oneself to be drawn into negativity. The phrase, not a practice conducive to inner peace, is deliberately chosen to be neutral and objective. It avoids accusatory language and simply states a consequence. This makes the disengagement less likely to be perceived as a personal attack and more as a matter of personal well-being. The goal is not to escalate the conflict, but to calmly and firmly remove oneself from a situation that is detrimental to one's Stoic ideals. In essence, this comeback is a practical application of the Stoic principle of focusing on virtue and inner peace above external validation or the need to win every interaction. It recognizes that some battles are not worth fighting, especially those waged by individuals who find pleasure in the discomfort of others. Choosing to disengage is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom and a commitment to one's own flourishing. Comeback 4. Such an attitude is unlikely to foster positive outcomes in the broader course of life. Quo. Stoic wisdom extends beyond the immediate moment, encouraging a perspective that considers the long-term consequences of one's actions and character. Virtue, reason, and respect for others are seen as foundational elements for a flourishing life. When confronted with persistent rudeness and disrespect, a measured observation regarding the potential negative repercussions of such behavior can serve as a sober reflection for the other individual, viewed through a Stoic lens of long-term well-being. The revised statement, "Such an attitude is unlikely to foster positive outcomes in the broader course of life," conveys this principle without resorting to personal insults or emotionally charged pronouncements. Rude behavior often stems from a short-sighted and ultimately self-defeating mindset. Individuals who consistently treat others with disrespect may gain fleeting moments of perceived superiority or gratification, but they are likely to alienate those around them, damage relationships, and create obstacles to their own goals in the long run. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies not in dominance or aggression, but in integrity, self-control, and the ability to build positive and mutually respectful relationships. Consider a young professional who consistently treats their colleagues with condescension and impatience. While they might believe this assertiveness helps them get ahead, their rude attitude is likely to lead to resentment, lack of cooperation, and ultimately hinder their career progression. The revised comeback, delivered calmly and without judgment, can offer a subtle nudge towards recognizing this potential long-term consequence. It suggests a broader perspective beyond immediate gratification. Similarly, in personal relationships, consistent rudeness and disrespect erode trust and intimacy. While one might occasionally lash out in anger, a persistent pattern of disrespectful behavior is likely to lead to strained relationships, isolation, and unhappiness. This comeback can serve as a gentle reminder of this likely trajectory, prompting the individual to consider the long-term impact of their attitude on their personal life. The Stoic principle at play here is the understanding of cause and effect, particularly in the realm of social interactions and character development. Stoics believe that virtuous actions tend to lead to positive outcomes, while vice and negative behaviors often lead to suffering. Rudeness, as a manifestation of a lack of virtue and respect, is therefore likely to have negative consequences in the long term. This comeback is not intended as a threat or a condemnation, but rather as a reasoned observation based on the Stoic understanding of human nature and social dynamics. It appeals to the other individual's sense of reason, suggesting that their current behavior is not in their own best long-term interest. It avoids emotional reactivity and instead offers a perspective rooted in the practical realities of life. The phrase "broader course of life" is key, as it shifts the focus away from the immediate interaction and towards the long-term consequences of a sustained attitude. It encourages the rude individual to consider the wider implications of their behavior on their relationships, their career, their overall well-being, and even their reputation. It is important to deliver this comeback with a tone of detached observation, almost as if one is stating a self-evident truth. Any hint of anger or moral superiority would undermine its effectiveness. The goal is to plant a seed of thought that might prompt the other person to reflect on their behavior and its potential long-term impact. This comeback aligns with the Stoic emphasis on self-improvement and the understanding that virtue is the only true good. By pointing out the likely negative outcomes of a disrespectful attitude, the speaker is implicitly suggesting that a more virtuous approach would lead to a more fulfilling life. It is a subtle form of guidance, offered without judgment or emotional investment. In essence, this comeback reflects the Stoic belief in living in accordance with nature, which includes understanding the natural consequences of our actions in the social realm. Just as certain physical actions lead to predictable outcomes, so too do certain attitudes and behaviors in our interactions with others. Rudeness, being a disharmonious and unsocial attitude, is therefore unlikely to lead to positive and harmonious outcomes in the long run. Comeback 5. This exchange has concluded before reaching a meaningful point of commencement. Stoicism places a high value on purposeful action, rational discourse, and the efficient use of one's time and energy. Engaging in interactions that are characterized by rudeness, negativity, or a clear unwillingness to participate in respectful dialogue is seen as a waste of valuable resources and a potential source of emotional disturbance. When confronted with such unproductive behavior, a Stoic response involves a decisive and controlled disengagement. The revised statement, "This exchange has concluded before reaching a meaningful point of commencement," serves as a clear and assertive termination of an interaction that holds no potential for value or mutual understanding. Rude individuals often seek to draw others into pointless arguments, exert dominance through negativity, or simply derive pleasure from disrupting others' peace. Engaging with such behavior not only drains one's mental and emotional energy, but also validates the rude individual's tactics. By calmly stating that the exchange is over, the Stoic reasserts control over their own participation and refuses to be manipulated into a fruitless interaction. Consider a situation where someone is repeatedly interrupting, being dismissive of your points, or engaging in personal attacks instead of addressing the topic at hand. Instead of getting drawn into a heated argument or trying to reason with someone who is clearly not interested in a meaningful exchange, this comeback offers a graceful yet firm exit. It signals that the interaction has not even reached a level where productive dialogue could begin, and therefore warrants no further investment of your time or energy. Similarly, in online discussions that devolve into name-calling and personal insults, this comeback can be used to signal your departure from the unproductive fray. It avoids adding fuel to the fire and clearly states that you will not participate in such a disrespectful environment. The Stoic principle guiding this response is the importance of living according to reason and virtue. Engaging in pointless arguments or enduring rudeness does not align with either of these principles. Stoics valued meaningful dialogue and the pursuit of truth, but they also recognized when an interaction was devoid of such potential. Disengaging is not an act of cowardice, but a rational decision to prioritize one's well-being and focus on more virtuous pursuits. This comeback is delivered with a sense of finality and control. It is not a request or a suggestion, but a statement of fact regarding the termination of the interaction. The phrase "meaningful point of commencement" highlights the fundamental lack of any productive foundation for the exchange, further justifying the decision to conclude it. It is important to deliver this comeback calmly and without any hint of anger or frustration. The goal is to state a boundary clearly and move on, without getting drawn into further argument about the decision to disengage. The power of this statement lies in its quiet authority and its refusal to validate unproductive behavior with continued engagement. This approach aligns with the Stoic emphasis on focusing on what is within our control. We cannot control the rudeness or the unproductive behavior of others, but we can control our own participation in the interaction. Choosing to disengage is an exercise of this control and a way of protecting our inner peace from external negativity. In essence, this comeback is a practical application of the Stoic wisdom of knowing when to withdraw from situations that are not conducive to virtue or well-being. It recognizes that not all interactions are worth pursuing, and that sometimes the most Stoic action is to simply walk away, preserving one's time, energy, and inner peace for more meaningful endeavors. It is a statement of self-respect and a refusal to be drawn into the chaotic and unproductive realm of disrespect. Coming back 6. One acknowledges the input and will allocate it the degree of consideration it merits. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of rational evaluation and the need to avoid being unduly influenced by external opinions, particularly those delivered rudely or without genuine merit. When faced with disrespectful remarks or unsolicited advice that lacks substance, a Stoic response involves acknowledging the input without granting it unwarranted significance. The revised statement, "One acknowledges the input and will allocate it the degree of consideration it merits," embodies this principle with a sense of detached assessment and controlled response. Rude individuals often expect their words to have a significant impact, either by upsetting or controlling the other person. They may seek to impose their views, criticize without justification, or offer unsolicited advice based on flawed reasoning. By responding in a way that suggests a measured and potentially dismissive evaluation of their input, the Stoic undermines their attempt at influence and maintains their own intellectual autonomy. Consider a professional setting where a colleague offers a critical remark on your work, delivered with a condescending tone and lacking specific constructive feedback. Instead of becoming defensive or engaging in a lengthy justification of your approach, this comeback serves as a polite yet firm acknowledgement that you have heard their comment but will subject it to your own rational scrutiny. It implies that their opinion is not automatically accepted as valid. Similarly, in personal relationships, one might encounter well-meaning but judgmental relatives or friends who offer unsolicited advice on personal matters. This comeback can be used to acknowledge their input without feeling obligated to accept it or engage in a debate about its merits. It maintains politeness while reserving the right to make your own decisions based on your own reasoned judgment. Furthermore, In online interactions where individuals offer rude or ill-informed opinions, this comeback can serve as a concise way of acknowledging their post without granting it any real weight or importance in your own thinking. It signals that you have seen their comment but are not necessarily swayed by it. The Stoic principle at play here is the importance of discernment and the ability to evaluate external input objectively. Stoics valued reason and believed that one should not be tossed about by the opinions of others, but should instead rely on their own reasoned judgments. This comeback reflects this principle by asserting the speaker's right to assess the merit of the input before deciding how much consideration it deserves. The phrase "degree of consideration it merits" is deliberately vague, implying that the level of attention given to the input will be determined by its inherent value and not by the manner in which it was delivered. This subtly challenges the rude individual's attempt to exert influence through negativity, suggesting that their rudeness does not enhance the value of their words. It is important to deliver this comeback with a calm and neutral tone, avoiding any hint of sarcasm or defensiveness. The goal is to convey a sense of self-assuredness and intellectual independence. The power of this statement lies in its implication that the speaker is capable of rational evaluation and will not be swayed by baseless criticism or rude pronouncements. This approach aligns with the Stoic practice of focusing on what is within our control. We cannot control the opinions of others, but we can control how we choose to process and respond to them. This comeback is an exercise of that control, asserting the speaker's agency in determining the significance of external input. In essence, this comeback reflects the Stoic ideal of wisdom and self-reliance. It suggests that the speaker is not passively accepting every opinion, but is actively evaluating its worth based on reason and evidence. It is a polite way of saying that the rude individual's input will be judged on its own merits, or lack thereof, and will not be given undue weight simply because it was expressed. It is a testament to the Stoic belief in the power of reasoned judgment and the importance of maintaining one's intellectual sovereignty. Comeback 7. Such dedication to self-abasement is a curious spectacle. Stoicism values self-respect, virtue, and living in accordance with reason and one's own integrity. When confronted with individuals who engage in behavior that is clearly self-demeaning or foolish in its rudeness, a detached observation can highlight the underlying nature of their actions without resorting to anger or direct insult. The revised statement, "Such dedication to self-abasement is a curious spectacle," offers a critical assessment by framing the rude behavior as a form of self-degradation, worthy of detached, almost anthropological observation. Rude behavior often stems from underlying insecurities and a misguided attempt to feel superior by putting others down. However, from a Stoic perspective, such actions are ultimately self-defeating. They reveal a lack of inner strength, self-control, and respect for oneself. This comeback subtly turns the focus back on the rude individual, suggesting that their actions are more revealing of their own flawed character and inner turmoil than of the person they are targeting. Consider a scenario where someone is engaging in persistent mockery or making clearly foolish and offensive remarks in an attempt to gain attention or validation from others. This comeback can be delivered with a tone of detached curiosity, as if one is observing a strange and somewhat pathetic display. It implies that the speaker finds the behavior more indicative of the rude individual's own shortcomings than of any failing in the target of their rudeness. Similarly, if someone is engaging in excessively aggressive or confrontational behavior that seems driven by their own inner frustration and insecurity, this comeback can be used to highlight the self-demeaning nature of their actions. It suggests that their rudeness is a reflection of their own lack of inner peace and self-respect. The Stoic principle at play here is the understanding that true dignity and self-worth come from within, from virtuous conduct and a rational mind, not from putting others down. Rude behavior, being a manifestation of negative emotions and a lack of self-control, is seen as a form of self-inflicted harm. This comeback draws attention to this self-abasement in a detached and somewhat ironic way. The phrase "curious spectacle" creates a sense of distance and objectivity. It suggests that the speaker is observing the rude behavior as one might observe an unusual or puzzling phenomenon, rather than being emotionally affected by it. This further undermines the rude individual's attempt to provoke a reaction. It is important to deliver this comeback with a tone of genuine, albeit detached curiosity, rather than with sarcasm or anger. Sarcasm might escalate the situation, while anger would defeat the purpose of maintaining Stoic calm. The goal is to offer a subtle but pointed observation about the underlying self-defeating nature of rude behavior. This approach aligns with the Stoic practice of understanding human nature and recognizing the flaws and irrationalities that drive negative actions. By framing rudeness as a form of self-abasement, the speaker implicitly highlights its foolishness and its departure from virtuous conduct. In essence, this comeback reflects the Stoic belief in the importance of self-respect and the understanding that our actions reflect our character. Rude behavior, being rooted in negativity and a lack of self-control, ultimately diminishes the person exhibiting it. This statement serves as a quiet but critical commentary on this self-inflicted degradation, observed with a detached curiosity that underscores its strangeness from a Stoic perspective. It suggests that true strength lies in self-mastery and respect for others, not in the fleeting and ultimately hollow gratification of rudeness. So remember this fundamental truth: your peace is your power. It's an inner sanctuary that no one can truly breach unless you allow them to. Don't ever let the negativity, the rudeness, or the attempts to provoke you by others steal that precious resource. Cultivate that inner stillness, stay centered in your values, and always strive to respond with wisdom rather than reacting with emotion. Your peace is a testament to your strength.